Hey everybody, Teacher Mike here with the truth about Vipkid. I've been working for Vipkid for 4 months now, and it is a 6 month contract. I will be continuing to work with Vipkid. I enjoy it. Um, I really can't complain. It's one of the easiest jobs I've had, in that you're given a lot of flexibility and a lot of autonomy to um, teach the way they have some guidelines, but you have a lot of ability to use a filter on your camera or have your props in the back, whatever you want. Use a whiteboard, use your own reward system. Um, they do give you the PowerPoint slides to go through the lessons. Maybe one day will be weather, the next day will be people in your family, and then maybe furniture in your room. But as long as you stick to what the lesson plan is, that the vocabulary they want you to teach, and you get it done on time. Timing is very important. And you use a reward system, and you use lots of TPR, then you're free to make quite a bit of changes and tweaks. And I would encourage it. You should split test all your teaching, kind of an A/B. I come from a marketing background, so A/B split tests make sense. Um, you know, Websites like Amazon.com, most people that are listening to this know what I'm talking about, or have even purchased from there multiple times. But most people don't know that even their colors, the orange and the buy box button color and the size of the text, that's all been split tested. Think about it. If you've got millions of people coming in to your website every day, you can have one server send them one page and the other server send another group another page with one very small tweak, and look at how many purchases you got with either version, and then you pick the best one, the one that made them the most money. So after years, decades of doing this with millions and millions of people, they've got the best website for e-commerce is Amazon. They're taking over. Meanwhile, retail stores are closing down, and eBay is it's out there, but it's not as big as it used to be. They've really taken over, and that's a perfect example of split testing. Anyone can do it in life as well. You should be split testing your English teaching skills, and the way you sing the songs to the kids, the reward systems you use, the jokes you make to make them laugh. What gets them happy, in a happy mood. These are all things you can do. Vipkid is not going to say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. They want you to split test your way to your optimum performance. And I think that most teachers are doing that. I mean, I didn't know about the camera features that you can install a program and give yourself a clown face. If they're not paying attention, or they're looking very serious, you can kind of spice up the mood, get them looking. Now they're like, oh, Teacher Mike's wearing a cowboy hat. It's like, what's going on over here? So, we all have room to improve. Even if you're a long-time teacher, if you haven't been in front of a computer before, teaching on video the way I'm talking to you now, or you've never had a Chinese classroom, interacting with someone that's across the ocean from you, there's room to improve. There's always room to improve, and Vipkid lets you do that. So that's a big plus. Some things people worry about is, what if I get, maybe a unhappy or unruly student or something like that. Happens very rarely. I mean, of course, there's other videos saying, of course, our kids don't. Maybe other programs, and it is kind of true. I mean, I've had experience with Chinese. Actually, I have quite a bit here in Thailand where I live, and it's a totally different ball game for a couple reasons. For example, the people you see here are kind of more middle class. They're getting money to travel now, but they're not able to go to maybe London or something. So they can do a weekend trip from South China to Thailand. It's not so far. It's not so expensive, and they're wild, man. they're just yelling and just in shopping malls yell like just screaming. Just it's crazy. And so based on that experience, and Thai people talk about this all the time. It's just like it really upsets them because they're very quiet in comparison. You know, that wouldn't be, and these are grown adults, these aren't children, but that would give me a pause. But then you realize that the people you're teaching are really at the top upper middle class. So they're trying to get their kids, at least to some degree, westernized. There's multiple reasons. One is they want the kid. They oftentimes want the child to go to the U.S. or Canada or Western Europe for education in the future. They're thinking long term. So they're really there for you to tell the kid, to show the kid how to act, how to speak, and these things. They're not, I can't go out here and tell these Chinese tour groups not to, you know, yell and stomp around. You know what I mean? It's really crazy, but they're grown adults and they've made some money and it's like they're Cancun. They're on vacation. They're just doing, and I'm a tourist too. It's not my country. So, you have to consider that these are young children who are malleable. They can be formed, and the parent is entrusting you to give them sort of the Western experience, guidance, and linguistic knowledge because they're probably going to send their kid to the U.S. or Canada someday. Number one, to live, to study. Number two, the kid is probably going to end up working in some sort of business. China is an export nation that sells you or your kids or your grandchildren or you in 10 years something. So even though they may still be very, very Chinese and they may always live in China, they may only visit other places, they're going to be in constant contact. So again, there's over 1 billion people. I'm seeing one group over here, and we're dealing with a very specific group that's interested in you and our language and culture. So these are very positive things because the experiences I'm having with the kids on VIP Kid is totally different than the groups at the shopping mall that's driving everyone nuts. And I don't even really like to go to shopping malls, which is the good news. But if it was them, for example, on the video Skype chat, acting like they do out in public, or when I see them at the airport or something, I might make a video going, okay, it's interesting, but that's not what we get. So they're there for you, and they also have a high value on educators and older people. I wouldn't qualify as older people for them, but if you're a retired person at home watching this, then that would be you as well. So then you got a double whammy. You're an educator. I'm an educator, and if you're older, then boom. In Asian culture, they respect that, and you can actually get away with some. You can actually kind of be like, hanging out, or like, I don't know, like you could be kind of just like doing your own thing, and I don't know, picking your teeth in the park or something. And people are not going to hassle older people unless there's like a clear problem. Whereas we're more open to just saying, okay, this guy is looking goofy. They don't do that. They kind of actually prevent themselves from doing that. So they're probably not going to, if you're an older teacher, they're probably not going to make fun of you, talk back to you. I never taught in the U.S. school system. I went through the U.S. school system, so I think we can all agree that that's not the case for the U.S. school system, depending where you are in America. But say if you're in like the LA County Unified School System, I'd say it's probably close to a zoo. So as far as just, disruptions and physical stuff and talking back and suspending this, you don't have to deal with that. Now let's just assume, and we're just assuming because VIP kids are awesome, but let's assume you just get someone just bad day, right? Just not into it. Not, Asian culture, they're not going to be like provocative towards you, but let's just say there's some kind of passive aggressive, I don't want to be here, I don't like the way you look today, whatever, right? 25 minutes. You're going through the lesson. Let's say they're reading. Let's say it's a level 3 or level 4 and there's a lot of reading. Um, they're not going to have time to they could kind of not read or do a terrible job, or which you're correcting them and helping them with. And you'd have to assess this yourself. So I'm just assuming that you can really tell, because sometimes they're just having trouble. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt every time. But let's just assume they can do better. Maybe it's a regular student. They can do better, and they're just sort of dragging their feet and doing this. With the reading, it's going to be hard for them to kind of throw that monkey wrench in there because they just need to start reading. I mean, there's not a whole lot. You just listening and correcting mistakes, so they're on their own. That's a self-starter. And, at level 3 or level 4, that can be quite a bit of the lesson, especially if it's a story you're reading over multiple slides. Then you do something that maybe they like, something they get interested in, something where I time them with my phone, say, okay, how fast can you say this? For the older kids, it's probably not going to get them jazzed up. For the younger kids, they love it. Maybe something with matching or numbers, giving them math problems, even if it's a number slide, then just saying, okay, well, what's this plus this equal? Something above and beyond. Okay, so now most of the kids really like the number stuff and they excel at it. So even if they're kind of tuned out because they don't get it, now they really do get this subject, and they want to show you that they're smart or they're good with numbers because the reading wasn't working out or wasn't as good. So now they can shine. So once you go through all those little segments, you realize that the amount of time they can really give you a hard time if they wanted to is like 5 minutes. So 25 minutes later, it's over. And we say that we don't say that in a like goodbye way. We say that in a, you're trying to help them and you're being patient and everything. But if I'm sure you've probably walked in the rain without an umbrella and it was cold and it kind of sucked longer than what it would be if there's a kid that's just not participating or whatever. So, but think about your other job. Say you're at a public school and there's a kid that's just, I don't know, bullying all your students, broke one of your computers in class, like did something just really bad. I mean, you can kick them out and everything, but let's say you don't send them to the principal or whatever. I'm not a public school teacher. That's not my background, but let's just assume these are the options. Let's just say they get in a little bit of trouble, but then you're going to see them tomorrow. You're going to see them for the whole semester, the whole quarter, however your school system's set up to teach them. And then let's say in the next year, you're going to still see them in the hallway, right? I mean, elementary school is, could be up to 6 or 7 years of the same kids, and 4 years in high school. So a lot of times, if there's ever not even a conflict of personality, but a vibe that this kid or this child doesn't like your style even, and you have to imagine I'm quite a bit different than the average teacher, so maybe he wants the more motherly thing and the sock puppets, and I'm more kind of let's get this, let's learn, let's get you challenged. And so he's like, okay, Teacher Mike is like serious about this learning stuff, and I have activities and games, and I make it fun. I do all the goofy singing and stuff. It's not boring, but let's say he's coming from a different. Let's say he had a regular teacher, and now the parent wants to transition or mix it up, or have two regular teachers. Susie on Monday, Mike on Tuesday. And Susie was going fine, but it was just slow mo, and Mike is more like a little bit more rapid fire, a little bit more let's build on this, let's get more in depth on these slides. And he's used to the Susie way, and he can get back to his computer games quicker, or Susie never gave him the lesson homework for the lesson 6 and lesson 12. They should draw you something, and Teacher Mike always tries to give them the option 1, 2, or 3 assignment, a little bit of homework. then if there's really the kind of, you're feeling like sandpaper rub, they usually don't come back. Most of your kids overall won't um, become regulars. You get a lot of kids, and I mean, I've got regulars. I've got one child that I've had since the beginning. He's one of my first students, and I got the feeling that he had a little bit of maybe some autistic something. I'm not an expert, but there was something where he was smart and could understand what was going on, but this guy looking down a lot and sort of just repeating, and then sort of like outbursts kind of thing, but not disruptive, but just whoa, like just takes that RPM needle up to 8,000 and just kind of redlines it, and it's like, okay, how did that activate? So, I got that vibe, but here's the thing, and maybe in the beginning, I may have even thought, okay, this is going to be one of the students that I kind of described to you before, where it's like, oh man, is this kid gonna learn? Is this good? Is he at too high of a level? And now, the parents don't really want the kids to be readjusted, especially downwards after they've started. But sometimes you can see, okay, this is tough for this kid, and wouldn't level 3 or level 2 be better for them? So this is one, but there's really, on this one, there was not much room to go. There wasn't. I couldn't really even make that comment. I just said, okay. I mean, the parent wants to get their money's worth out of this, so the pressure's kind of on you. But here's the thing, and then there's the whole, maybe the kid has something developmental going on, so it's not really it's not really anybody's fault. But the parents are putting the money down, you're getting money, you're getting paid, and the kid's sitting there. So it really shows, do you have what it takes to to make this work, or are you going to get nervous and then don't write a ticket up? I didn't write any tickets up and say I'm really concerned and nervous about this. I just said, let's just see what happens. Guys, that's sometimes the best way. Wait and see. Isn't that the old Chinese thing, the proverb where they come to the farmer and he keeps saying, wait and see, let's see, let's see, let's see. There's a war. Oh, isn't it terrible? Let's see. Oh, there's peace. Isn't it great? Oh, let's see. It's like boom, boom, boom. That's sort of life. And that's VIP kid life sometimes. And that's what it was with this child. And now he's reading to me. Couldn't read before. He's remembering vocabulary. He couldn't read before. He can count 1 to 20 now. He used to just go like 11, 17. And it's like we're counting in a line. He would just go 11, 17, 13. And the mom would be like, ah. And I'd just be like, I'd get my whiteboard out and go, okay, here, I'd write them down. Boom. And repeat, repeat, repeat. Man, it's like months of that. But think about it. Maybe this kid is destined to do something where this is, I mean, maybe there's got to be a reason. There's got to be an incentive for the parent to just say, you know, um, I want this kid to learn. I think this kid can do it. I mean, wouldn't you want a parent that believed in you, even if you were slow to learn whatever? I mean, we don't. I speak another language, but most people in the U.S., we get 2 years of Spanish in high school. We can't do anything when we go to Cancun with that. So, you know, if imagine it was you in high school, but instead of Spanish, which has some similar words, it was Chinese. We might look somewhat, you know, developmentally, um, behind times in that regard, but it's paid off. I'm writing this nice note to parent, like, hey, here's all the progress we've made, and yeah, it's taken some time. But the other thing is that the kid and the parent, they've added up to like 15% of all my um, 5-star, 5 apple reviews, and that's because I didn't freak out about it and tell the parent like, "Oh my goodness, do you see what I'm like?" No, just teach the kid, and then keep doing it, and keep doing it, and keep smiling. So that's what I did, and the parent clearly appreciates it. The kid is now like jumping up and down when I open up the camera to say hi. So perhaps they had another teacher not be like this, not be so friendly, or not, or be more impatient or whatever. Or maybe everyone's the same as I am and it's all going great. I don't know. I don't get to see that. But what I'm saying is that, if it doesn't make any sense, if there's not a personality fit, or this parent actually did at one point feel like, I'm paying all this money and this kid's not learning, they'll take corrective action. That's not up to you. But on the other hand, if you give everyone a fair shake and you just say, okay, I'm just going to keep this kid on here and keep him learning at this slower rate until things start clicking, until he can start speaking to me, until he can start counting correctly, until he can remember the vocabulary, and I'm just going to keep smiling. Well, now it's paying off. So, don't worry about, the kids that don't helicopter mom. That's for the Chinese moms to do, and they will helicopter for sure. So just be the rock of Gibraltar there, and just say, today we're learning about the family. Today we're learning about the weather. Boom, boom, boom. Do it, and things will come around, or they'll self-correct. And you always want to solicit feedback. I don't ask my parents like, give me a 5 apple review. I think that's not good. They provide enough feedback to me that I know what they're looking for, what they like, or what they didn't like. I don't get, I haven't gotten any complaints in the last couple of months, but they have ways to, either through VIP Kid or their comments to you, if something was going wrong. So I have to assume that things are going pretty well as I continue to A/B test my way up to the peak of what I can do for these kids. That this is more than satisfactory to the parents. And now, so I just had to go on that kind of, on a prayer thing. I hope they're satisfied with this. You know, I feel like we're covering the material, but it doesn't, the sponge has not activated on this kid. Well, now it has. So now I feel good about it. The parent always believed, always kept bringing the kid back, and the kid is smiling at me every day. So great news. And that's how things go with VIP Kid. And that, like I'm saying for the new teachers out there, that was one of my first kids. So that's one of the people like the students I had worries about. They weren't disciplinarian at all, but they were worries nonetheless. And now I'm like, it's one of my favorite classes. So, you know, appearances can be deceiving. You don't know what you're going to get, but overall, it's going to work itself out. And for those kids that maybe it was more disciplinarian, more is, maybe they wanted an easier lesson. They wanted it more hands. They didn't want, Teacher Mike to be so strict. Or maybe Teacher Mike was being too square and they wanted more jumping up and down and dancing. Those kids got their lesson, and sometimes I even got good sometimes there's no feedback, but sometimes you get good feedback and you're like, oh, okay, the parent must have really liked it, which is really what's important here. But the kid was sort of like, oh my goodness, all this reading. But but at the end of the day, the parent may really like what you did. Maybe the parent is even having the trouble with the kid to get the kid on track. So then the kid tells the parent, okay, Teacher Mike's not the greatest fit for me or whatever. I really like Teacher Kelsey. Well, they'll go back. And then there's no shortage of the children. I mean, I would love everyone that I've ever taught to be a regular. And then, boom, after the first week, it's like I never saw anyone new and ever again. But you have to realize that that they are dating other people. Like, there's other teachers out there. There's 10,000 of us. So they are going to find other matches that might be better. And who knows? Even the kid I just told you about might happen tomorrow. I might never, I might see him less and less. So this change actually works out to be a good thing, because then you're not stuck like in a public school with Johnny, who is bad behavior, and then they don't get as angry, or there's just that 25-minute window, and they know that they have options too. So I'm this receptacle of like, okay, who's going to take my class? I can't pick, okay, you can't take my class, you can't, that's not right. But they know that there's a bunch of people. So they're not going to stick with you, and then hopefully this I have read a couple instances where um, and I can only kind of theorize why this is of a kid sticking with a teacher and then giving them bad ratings. It hasn't happened to me, but I've read it, and that may be that the kid is bouncing between many teachers and things are not going well across the board, and then they're sort of spiking the ball on everybody, saying, my kid is not a master of English yet. Boom, boom, 1 star, 1 star, one apple, one apple, one apple. Guess what? VIP kid probably would really be helpful in taking care of something like that. I mean, if I was talking to the teacher who I read about saying something like that was going on, first of all, I don't know that that's true. I mean, it could be a bit of a hyperbole. Maybe it happened once, and then the kid did leave, and then, you know, they're just still upset about the review they got. Could be. But let's take them at their word. That's when I would open a ticket and say, listen, there's a lot of fish in the sea. There's 10,000 teachers on here. If Bobby's not learning and Bobby's upset, I've tried my best. The classes are recorded. Go back and look. That's what the staff does. They go look at you just like you're looking at me right now and say, yeah, Teacher Mike was totally inappropriate, or Teacher Mike sang and danced and did a good job. Try Teacher Kelsey. So I think they can help with that because they can contact the parent and speak to him in Chinese and say, hey, here's how he sees things, and if it's not working out, move on. But I've never had that, but these are the things that make VIP Kids so awesome, and this is why it's probably the cutting edge of the future of teaching English, especially for Asian students that can't just fly to the U.S. or Canada, that have visa restrictions and probably may never ever be able to leave their country. Basically, like I'm in Thailand. I'm not in my country. Not everyone in the world can do that. That's there's a few countries in the West that you can just sort of show up in about 150 countries sight unseen and check it out, or get longer term visas at pretty easily. Like, hey, I'd like a visa to Indonesia or Thailand or Vietnam, even Vietnam, despite maybe some crazy history. Oh yeah, here you go. Whereas try being Vietnamese or Thai or Chinese and saying, I want to go to California. It's like, show me every hotel that you're going to be in, reservation, credit card receipts, bank account that shows you have enough money. I mean, and we have to be doing this. So I'm not really even criticizing everybody here, because there's a lot of problems with, if we were just like, oh, hello, we'd be in a different world. But for the countries they live in, they need as much tourism as they can get, and they want you spending their money, and things can be, you see a lot, the tourism side of things, you see the smiling face, but on the backside there's poor people and there's slums and everything else. So my point was, if they can't get out, and English is probably in both a business and a travel sense their only way to get out if they ever qualify, then getting them on the online platform to me, just like this is what they see when they're in my classroom, is the best darn investment they can make. And there's more of us that will eventually be online teaching them from home, wherever home may be, than young people like myself, or even middle-aged people that want to fly into the smog of China, of some of these big cities, and teach. I mean, it can be a lot of fun, and I definitely like to visit. And I mean, I'm out here in Southeast Asia. Bangkok is a huge city. It's got some pollution, not so bad, but it's got some. But what I'm saying is that most people, if everyone was leaving to do this job, to fly over to, I mean, we would have a teacher shortage. Like, you know what I mean? over 90% of people don't want to leave their town or their family or their parents or their sick dog or whatever. So the travel is a fraction. So all the English teachers in China now are the tip of the spear of a much larger group of people who are educators, teachers overall, elementary, middle school, high school, people who have bachelors in education or childhood development. They're the very top of the pyramid of the people that actually said, okay, I'll take this and I'll fly, you know, 4,000 miles over here and make a living of it. But now that's devolved down to the base of the pyramid where you can just be in Arkansas and be some elementary school teacher who would like to make a little extra cash, and you're in on it. So VIP Kid is the future of it, and there's a lot of benefits to getting in and teaching with them. And the downside stuff is very minimal in my opinion. Now I'm teaching from Asia, so it's my normal working day to teach them. It's my evening, it's their evening. Yes, people are getting up really early in the morning, but people get up early in the morning for their 9 to 5, or they sleep in and roll out of bed and hate it. So what's the difference between getting up and checking out your peaceful neighborhood and making sure, you know, no one's like creeping around in your yard. It's like kind of cool to be up early in the morning and feel like, okay, I'm watching the neighborhood. I'm looking out the window. Oh, that car shouldn't be there. Who's that guy? That's how I would feel if I was back in the U.S. and I'm like, boom. And then the cool thing is you hear everyone start their car and head to the office. The stuff you used to do. And then what? You can do some yoga, maybe go back to bed and take a nap if you got wiped out. Wake up at 9:30 a.m., have brunch, take your kid to the park and play. The people doing the 9 to 5 stuff can't do that. So, yeah, there's early hours, but your boss is the VIP Kid staff, but they're really it's very hands off. There's very little interaction with them unless something's really going on. You really need them. As long as you're doing what you're showing up and you're following their basic guideline criteria. Your customers are always changing, the students. So even if you have an educational background, it's very different because like I said before, you see those kids all the time. Even if you are working in an office job, or like I have a marketing background, there's office politics. There's bad bosses in that you have to see all the time that are breathing down your neck and micromanaging you. So I would say as long as VIP Kid keeps the same kind of philosophical, like hands off, we just want highly qualified people who show up on time and follow the TPR and the reward system and stuff like that, their basic flow, this can't go wrong because that's what people want to do this. That's why people would be willing to make this jump, is to get away from micromanagement, seeing the same people all the time, the politics. You don't have any politics with the kids if they're constantly moving on. You get regulars, and then you get these sad videos on YouTube where the regulars move on. Everyone moves on. It's like this massive speed dating thing. So, I mean, for me as a guy, like the kid I told you about earlier, I'd be a little bit sad that if he was just like, I'm not going to continue, or school's out, I don't need your help anymore, or I found teacher Shirley, she blows you out of the water. I mean, I'd be sad, but I'd be happy too because he's made so much progress. It's like a bird jumping out of the nest and flying away. It's like sad, but it's also beautiful. But then there's some of the lady teachers are emotionally attached to that. They're basically making love song music videos about some of their previous students. But that can be expected. That happens, okay? But that's better than the coworker or the boss or the customer that you see every day that you don't like. And we've all had that experience before. It happens to the best of us. So I think I'll leave it at that, guys. I just wanted to go over the main kind of concerns. I mean, there's the hours. The pay is good. there's the potential of, okay, who am I getting on the other side of this monitor? And I'm telling you about my experience traveling and meeting, Chinese tourists, and just the fact that it's a billion people, and we're talking about a very small number that probably can afford this service and get the kid, but they're the new nouveau riche in China, and so, but to keep going up, to keep their position solidified, the kids got to learn English. They're not just going to be factory owners that sell everything to Walmart and get really rich, and the kids just like off somewhere, you know, eating rice. They're like, hey, dude, you need to be learning this because this is what got us here, and the sky's the limit, and you're going to keep doing this. And we're in Asia, and we really value education, and you have no choice. It's like we don't care. You want to be a movie actor, you're going to be learning English. Maybe you should learn English to be a movie actor. Who knows? I mean, English really is one of those things. So that's how they get to you. And that eliminates a lot of it. It's like if you stay at a really nice hotel, like a 5-star hotel, how often do you have to worry about, parking problems, or, when they got a valet outside, or, street crime or gangs near a 5-star hotel. I mean, these things are just already like burp, eliminated. It's not, what's going on behind Best Western or Hotel 8. It's like, okay, you're staying at the Hilton. Some of these things, is the food decent? Some of these things are going to be cleared out. And it's the same for, they're paying to get in front of you. They're not going to be sticking their tongue out at you for 25 minutes. It's never happened. So I wouldn't worry too much. And again, if you think about some of the public school stuff that all of us have experienced as members of the system, and then some of you have done as teachers, you're safe behind your computer screen. They can't attack you. They can't throw anything at you. The worst I get is when I say high five, and I do like that, and then they actually smack the camera and knock it over sometimes, and then they pick it back up and they're laughing, and it's good fun. That's there is a barrier. So, but they really do appreciate you. So I would say it's also good for people who want to get more social interaction. I enjoy children. There's probably people watching this who are just retired. It's like, hey, what am I going to do with life? Which is you got all this time, but then, when you're young, you're all sociable, you have no money. And then when you're retired, hopefully you've got this money coming in. Things are changing, but if you really plan it out right, you've got all this money, but maybe you're low on the people that you can chat with. Maybe everyone in the retirement community is boring. Maybe most of your family is gone already, and some people are not coming to visit, and it's like, dude, I would pay to have interaction with people with my current situation in life. Okay, how about get paid and then have young children smiling at you, talking, learning language you feel fulfilled by teaching them, you're giving, you're getting. It's great. So that's the other last thing I'll say is this can be for anybody. You do have to meet the requirements, bachelor, some teaching experience, and you got to have a good internet connection. You got to be willing to show up and do a good job. But after that, this could be a good thing for many different types of people. So my review, the truth about Vipkid is you should give it a try. And don't worry about I'll make more videos about the mock interview and the interview process. This is another thing, real quick, where it's overanalyzed. I could see, I guess there's some people coaching and training people if you have an educational background, I would say most people have probably, if they're school teachers, more educational. My major is not in education, but I have bachelor's. I had teaching experience in teaching English abroad, but not school system, not LA County Unified School System, 10 years, and I taught, and then they taught, like special needs kids. I don't have all that, and I don't have all these certificates. I don't have TEFL, but this has inspired me to go perhaps get the TEFL. And you'll probably, if you have all that stuff, you probably make a little bit more than I'm making right now, which is a good thing. But my point is, my point was that people overanalyze. Like they have all this stuff. I didn't have all that stuff. I passed, and I'm seeing a lot of videos that are like, what if, who can I pay $500 to make? It's like, who can I get the quiz answers from? No, no, no. Just do it. Just do it. Get the shirt. Get a headphone set. Look professional. Shave. If you're a man, shave, or at least tidy up, and review their material, and do like I'm doing with you here, where I'm talking to you. The time we've spent so far on this video is about the same as what it takes to do the whole interview thing, probably both times. So sit in front, film yourself with the Mac, with whatever you're doing, teaching the lesson. I can't show you the material. I think it's their proprietary stuff, but it's a PowerPoint. It's a PowerPoint presentation of 20 to 25 slides, teaching them letters and animals and things like that. Make something up, practice it, show your friend. Would you want to be the kid on the other side of this while I'm doing this? Does this make sense? Is my eye contact good? Am I smiling? Am I moving my hands TPR? If the answer is yes, show up, pass it, upload your documents, and start teaching just like me. But there's too much stuff where people are commenting and making videos about being afraid that they won't pass, and they haven't even signed up, or even like, you get you get a redo or a second phase of it too. So you do get feedback before they say yes or no. When you go in the second time, if you've made those changes, you've got a really good chance. But people are making these like doom and gloom Armageddon videos about the interview experience before they went to Mach 1. So I will make more videos about it to help you guys out. But guys, just like Nike says, just do it. Just do it and show up. And you guys probably, the average person viewing probably has a little bit more experience than I even did. Just as far as if this video reaches out to ex-school teachers, retirees, people older than I, people who are currently teaching, people who have bachelors that are in educational fields. So you're already head and shoulders above me, but you got to get your mind right. You got to get that mindset like, I can do this. Like, turn this video off now. I'm on it. So guys, just do it. Don't worry. And they are a great employer. So I think you'll really enjoy Vipkid. Feel free to ask me any questions about anything I've just said, or send me an email. But comment in the comments below, and I'll get back to you. Thanks.